Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. We got the whole crew with us today. What's going on, everyone? Coach Jibs, what is going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? It's pretty good, Coach Steve, man. I'm just waiting for Thursday Night Football to come into play, and hopefully it's another win. But other than that, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Man, not too bad, man. I'm tired. It's been a long week, but I'm happy football's back on, so now I can kick back tonight and just chill out. Coach John, what's going on, brother?
I'm great. Excited for football tonight. I'm headed to Disney with my family this weekend, so I'm living the dream.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I wish I was going to this weekend. Awesome. Love that everyone's doing well, guys. So we are here to talk starts and sits for week 9, guys. We have a lot to go over tonight, so we're going to get right into it with our fantasy news. And, of course, we have to have a little... All right, guys. So if you didn't catch my little mini episode Tuesday night, I did a little breakdown of each NFL deadline trade and my own perspective here. So go check that out if you want to see a little bit more detail to it. But, Coach John and Coach Jim are going to give us their top 3 losers and winners from combined all of these trades from the weekend here. So from Tuesday night. So, of course, I'm going to go through them if you haven't heard or been living under a rock. Nyheim Hines got shipped off to Buffalo, and Zach Moss got shipped back to Indy. Jeff Wilson is now in Miami. Calvin Ridley traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chase Edmonds was part of a big trade that brought in Bradley Chubb to Miami. Now Chase Edmonds is now in Denver. Chase Claypool is not to Pittsburgh. He is to Chicago. And TJ Hawkinson, probably the craziest surprise trade of the week of that deadline, was him going to the Minnesota Vikings. So, guys, give me your top 3 winners and losers from the NFL deadline. Whoever wants to go first, you guys can do it.
Let's see. So I would say one of the big winners was Justin Fields. He's been playing well of late, and he gets Chase Claypool, who is, a physical freak of an athlete. So I think that's a big upgrade for Justin Fields to have another weapon to throw to. Another winner is probably, I think, Calvin Ridley. I think he gets a change of scenery. It sucks that you're not going to see him this year, but for your dynasty assets and your dynasty plays, Jacksonville clearly really liked him. They made a play for him when he's not available. So they're looking to the future, looking to get, T-Law some weapons, and they know they can't just rely on Christian Kirk and whoever else they're rolling out with. So that's a big move for Jacksonville in general. And then I probably Deion Jackson is another one who I think is a big winner in this trade, because now there's speculation that Jonathan Taylor might not even suit up this weekend. He's still battling that ankle injury, but even still, there is a role that can be carved out in pass catching downs and third downs for Deion Jackson. He did really well, a couple weeks ago when he had the backfield to himself. I think he saw like 10 targets. So yeah, I mean, that's probably my gut reaction for the 3 biggest winners. Losers, I would say James Cook. That sucks because James Cook really started to get some runs, started looking good, but I think Buffalo just wants a veteran presence on their playoff push and their trip to the Super Bowl. So, James Cook dynasty is probably still fine, but I don't know, rest of the season, I don't know if he's going to be a flexible asset. Sucks for Irv Smith. That's a loser. I mean, that was, he had a high ankle sprain. So I think this is more the Vikings just realizing that this injury was way bigger than it was. And so, that's a tough one there. And then I think out of the other trades, maybe, there's not really that many, I guess, losers. I guess you could, yeah, no, I'd say
maybe it's someone who didn't trade.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. I think in basically LA, that conversation that was happening, I think that's just sucks because anyone who was sitting on Kareem Hunt, you thought maybe you were going to get a real second half powerhouse, and it just looks like now it's status quo. So you're going to get the same low end RB3 numbers.
All right, Coach Gibbs, what you got for us?
Okay, I took it as a team perspective, so I'll say the 49ers. I'm including that Christian McCaffrey trade before the week. And you also will kind of say Elijah Mitchell becomes a winner because we didn't know what his situation was, but now he's clearly the second RB2 there. Jeff Wilson also a winner. He gets to be in some newfound lands in Miami. Enjoy that good Florida weather like Coach Don down there. Vikings, I'll say they lost Irv Smith, but they got TJ Hawkinson, and like their schedule is pretty damn good for upcoming. So like I think once he gets acclimated, I think he will be a winner. And then like for fantasy managers, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a winner because they got rid of a wide receiver. We've been complaining about we don't know who to start. So now it's like kind of slimmed down to Pickens and Deontay Johnson as the two wide receivers outside. So I kind of think like for some managers who have been carrying like Steelers wide receivers, you get a little win there. And perspective losers, I'll say the Packers are just cheap what do you call it? Town-owned like team, so like they just won't pinch anything together to get a wide receiver. Any help for Aaron Rodgers? I'll say the Rams too. They swung and missed on Christian McCaffrey. Their skill weapons are just abysmal right now. I just think like they needed something there, and I also say the Bills. Like they just got Naeem Hines. Like I think like they're like you got Kareem Hunt available. You just got Naeem Hines, so like it's cool. It's whatever. You're saving your picks, but yeah, like, I'm not really like sold on that, especially like what you said about James Cook.
All right, I love it, boys. Love that. We do have a question to start off the show pretty early, so I love this. Trey, good afternoon, gents. Full point PPR. Who do you sit between Tyler Boyd, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Joshua Palmer, who all have really good matchups this week?
Yeah. Sit one. I'd probably sit. It's crazy. We'll get to it, but I have Juju as a start of the week, so I can't sit him. So it's between Palmer and Boyd. It doesn't look like Keenan Allen's going to go, so I'll probably say Josh Palmer.
So you're sitting Josh Palmer.
No. I'll sit Boyd. I'll play Juju and Palmer. Sorry, I'll play Juju and Palmer.
Jibs, what do you got?
I might go. Oof. I think I'm gonna go Boyd and Palmer.
You only got to sit one. Oh, so you're gonna sit Juju?
Yeah,
Juju. Okay.
Oh God, I feel bad for Trey because I'm literally gonna go Joshua Palmer. So
yeah. Wow. So we sat everyone different. Holy smokes! That was the worst. Trey, that was the worst advice we could possibly give you.
Well, my reason is because the way I see it is that I trust the offense is going to throw to their wide receivers. Like I trust Joe Burrow is going to throw to his two wide receivers. I trust that Juju is going to see his main workload. I don't trust that Justin Herbert is going to continually throw to his wide receivers. I know Palmer would be the top guy, but he does throw to Austin Eckler, who could probably see 15 targets in this game. He does throw to Gerald Everett a lot. So maybe Palmer has a good game, but I also concerned that maybe he isn't the main focus in this offense for Herbert. So that's my only reason.
I just have concerns with that Kansas City game with Ryan Tannehill potentially not playing. I don't think that would be a competitive game whatsoever. Would they need to throw?
I respect it.
That is a good.
Well, maybe the next one here, Trey. We got you. Obviously, full point PPR. Start one this time. Start AJ Dillon, Kyle Pitts, or Devonta Smith. He's worried about the Eagles running it down, which I'm worried about that too.
Oh wow.
Man. Ugh. AJ Dillon and Kyle Pitts, two people who have just underperformed all season.
And they have decent matchups actually this week. Yeah. Devonta Smith, his matchup sounds good, but they might also just run the hell out of Houston, which they can. And it might not be a game where, Hurts throws the ball 30 times. It could be like 20.
Man, I'm going to beat my head against the wall again and say Kyle Pitts. I just think, he's probably the start out of those three. Devonta Smith, he has.
I don't want to start Devonta Smith.
I don't want to start Devonta
Thursday
Smith
night receiver, and I hate myself starting Thursday night receiver.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts has had back-to-back games where he's seeing, over 30% target share. So, it sucks because like we've talked about all season, they only throw the ball, 15, 20 times. But Kyle Pitts is one of those players that can do a lot with a little, and you're just hoping for a touchdown. They've used him in the red zone a lot last game. So, yeah, I like Kyle Pitts' chances at a touchdown over the other two guys.
Jibs, you're on the Pitts train too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Trey, you have two people at least picking Pitts. I'm probably going to pick AJ Dillon personally. I think he will bounce back against a really bad Detroit Lions team who's really bad against the run. But Kyle Pitts is a fine option too. I don't really want to start Devonta Smith. I'd rather take that risk because it could be a game where he could put up a 20-pointer, but he could also really easily put up like a 5-point game. I'd rather wait until Sunday and then make your choice then. But Pitts is a fine option. All right. So let's get over to the second part of the news here. We actually have regular fantasy news, not NFL deadline news. So obviously players who did not practice today: Derrick Henry, Gus Edwards, Mark Andrews, Jonathan Taylor, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Parker, Damian Harris. Cam Akers is now back with the Rams. Does that mean you guys want nothing to do with anyone on the Rams?
Yeah, that's going to be
Yep. Don't want anyone on the Rams.
I don't want anyone to do with it.
Nope.
Ronnie Rivers came out of the practice squad and had points last week. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea.
If his name's not Cup, I don't want him.
Yeah,
I respect it. Brandon Cooks is out tonight for personal reasons. He's pretty pissed about the Texans. I'm hoping they just release him. That'd be hilarious. Darrell Williams to the IR, not a big news. Rashard Bateman to the IR, ending his 2022 season. Now, let me ask you guys this real quick, because he's been hurt now in 2 years during his season. And this is more of a dynasty take real quick here. Is he still someone you want in dynasty? Or is it someone that you're looking to sell off to an owner who thinks that rebuilding with Bateman is a good idea?
It's so funny because in a dynasty league, this is probably a couple days ago before this news dropped, I just traded for Bateman thinking like, I'm like, I got some picks and Bateman in this package. And I'm thinking to myself like, he'll be a profile as a good wide receiver too, with my Chris Olave and going forward in the future. Like, I like this duo. I don't know if I like it as much anymore now that he's getting a surgery on his foot. And it's like, I think that, who knows what's going to happen next year with, we all assume Lamar Jackson's going to be a Raven, but who knows? I mean, he's a free agent really. So it could be, dynasty could be really dicey for Bateman. I always thought coming into the league, he profiled as a really strong 2 on a team. And so I think the Ravens kind of forced him into this number 1 role, and injuries didn't help. But if Lamar Jackson stays and they get a good, competent 1, I think Bateman can be an awesome boomer bust, play for fantasy. But there's just a lot. There's just a lot of question marks.
Yes, definitely. Jibs, how do you feel?
I'm not overly confident on him for that perspective because, still, I know he's a young player and whatever, but then he has to come back from that foot injury, still playing on that Ravens run first approach team too. So if you want to start a rebuild or you just want to sell a piece, I wouldn't be opposed to selling Bateman, but obviously you can hold on to him and wait till the season starts when he gets a little bit more valuable, but you never want to sell short on the dollar.
Yeah, no. If anything, I'm looking to pair him up to try to get somebody really good. If I can do that, if it's giving up 1 first or a second and Bateman to get somebody as a wide receiver who's really good or running back, I'm looking to do that. The injuries are concerning. This is not a pass heavy team outside of Mark Andrews. It's just really risky. He was a boomer bust guy during the season as it was when he was healthy. The injuries are just, to me, it's just a real turn off with Bateman. Michael Thomas on the IR. Someone was like, I thought he was already on the IR, but he was not. And now he is on the IR for the next 4 games. He is out. Ryan Tannehill has been downgraded to did not practice today. So we might be getting Malik Willis starting once again. It was not pretty to see in the passing game last week. And then real quick, guys, for those who might have questions about Mark Andrews and his situation, because he did not practice today. And again, he did play last Sunday with not practicing on Thursday, but this is a Monday night game here now. Do you risk going after Andrews? I mean, you could pick up Isaiah Likely if you're the Andrews owner and you're looking for a backup plan, but maybe he's already been picked up from this waiver wire week. Do you guys risk it and just wait until Monday, or do you go out there and try to grab somebody if you can, if you have a bench spot for it.
I think, like you said, the first play should have been, if you were the Andrews manager, your first play should have been lock up Likely. Whatever it took in the waivers, whatever you needed to do, blow that fab, get Likely on your bench. But if you didn't get to do that, then I think you're kind of screwed. You have to play someone else. You can't roll into Monday night thinking Andrews is going to be healthy and play 100%. It sucks that it's a Monday game, but I would probably try and pivot to another option.
Jibs.
You can pick up Juwan Johnson. That's your only other option, and or Taysom Hill if they're available. But other than that, I'll play ahead. Be smart.
Yeah, if you can, if there's someone with a good matchup who we might talk about later, that's worth picking up, and he's out there on your waivers, you might want to consider that just in case, because if you're coming down on Monday night and you're hoping for a big game for Mark Andrews, and it's a tough matchup too, so don't forget that. Maybe they don't want to play him that much because they do have a bye week in week 10, so keep that in mind. If you're going to risk it, but go get Isaiah Likely, and if not, go get Juwan Johnson if you're going to wait until Monday.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the end of our news. Now we can get back to the starts and sits of the week, guys. Let's talk about what happened last week. How do you guys think you did?
Let me look back at my notes. I feel like I didn't do good. I feel like I did.
I'll start with me first. Obviously, now we're down to 10. We only did 10 players this past week, obviously. Went 5-5 myself. I had Latavius Murray right, Kareem Hunt right, sleeper and bust. And then I had a bust at Robert Tonyan. Got a nice sleeper in Andy Dalton, a bust in Trevor Lawrence. Jibs, you went 4-6. You had Deontay Foreman and Tyler Algier as nice sleepers this past week.
Foreman,
you picked Michael Carter bust, and then you picked them a Christian Kirk bust for you. John, you went 5-5. You had the Tony Pollard sleeper, the Dave Montgomery bust, the sleepers at DJ Moore and Tyler Lockett. So you beat another one of us in a head-to-head matchup and starts sleeper. So bust and sleepers, so good for you. And then you had Tua as a sleeper this week, so obviously you had a big week. So not a bad week. We went, evenly 500. Well, let's try to make it for all wins, no losses this week, guys. So let's get right to it. Let's start with some quarterbacks. Start with a QB sleeper, John. Who do you have as a QB sleeper?
This is someone that we kind of talked about in the news a little bit. It's Justin Fields. He's been on fire lately. They're starting to run the ball with him and use him in designed run plays. And he just got Chase Claypool as a new weapon, new toy to throw to. So I think he's coming around as a fantasy option. He's been top 8, I believe, the past 3 weeks, kind of trending in the upward direction. We always talk about mobile quarterbacks and rushing quarterbacks having this safe floor, and you now add this ceiling of big playability with Claypool and Mooney too. So I'm starting Justin Fields over a lot of guys this week.
Yeah, he's been on a tear lately. I mean, he's been QB1 the last 3 weeks. He's finding that rushing mobility. Dolphins do let up quarterbacks some points, so he's in for a good week. And maybe if Claypool plays a lot, obviously even more to his arsenal this past week. So I like that. Coach Jibs, what do we got at QB sleeper?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields too? Okay.
He definitely would be mine, but I'm picking Taylor Heineke. His passing volume has been limited. He's basically averaging 32 pass attempts on 21 completions per game, but the matchup against the Vikings is pretty good. Ninth most points over the last 2 games. They allowed quarterbacks to throw over 300 passing yards and at least scored 2 touchdowns each. Taylor Heineke's giving you 2 touchdowns every game he's started so far. So I think this is a good spot. He's playing decent, so I wouldn't mind using him as a backup if you missed on Justin Fields.
All right. I like it. I like that because he was my guy, of course. But, man, who am I going to go with now at this point? I'm going to take the gamble and go Trevor Lawrence. I hate it because he's been playing so bad lately, especially in the air. On the ground, he's scoring multiple rushing touchdowns a game. But like I mentioned with Andy Dalton last week, the Raiders are now 7 games, 7 QB1 performances. Their secondary just gets trashed by quarterbacks. And Trevor Lawrence, well, I'm hoping that he can kind of turn things around this week with a very favorable matchup. And he's got the weapons to do it. He does have weapons that can keep him in this game here. And I think this is going to be a game where it's one of those higher scoring games because both defenses are really bad and he's going to have to throw the ball a lot. I said The Raiders are giving up the most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks at this point, 22.9. If he gets 22.9, that's you probably a borderline QB1 right there. So I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence and roll with him this week. All right. Looks like we might have – oh, don't leave. We have a question here. Yes. Hello. All right. Let's see. Would you guys trade Dameon Pierce and Kadarius Toney for Cortland Sutton and Michael Pittman? I really need wide receivers. My other RBs are McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, and Connor. Thanks in advance.
Oh, is James Conner playing?
James Conner might be out this
Yeah.
But so it's really Christian McCaffrey and Nick Chubb. Would you trade for the potential right now buy low window for maybe you guys might not think it's buy low, but buy low potential for Sutton and Pittman right now? Many people had them as high-end wide receiver twos for the coming season.
But the thing that sucks with Pittman is Ellinger is not the answer. So you're not going to get a lot of these elite games out of Pittman. So really, it's like Pierce for Sutton, and it's like Toney and Pittman to me are like throw-in pieces at this point. And I would probably keep the Dameon Pierce and Kadarius Toney side, to be honest with you. I just think that you need running back depth in this league, in any fantasy league. So I just don't know, really what you got with Sutton and Pittman.
Jibs?
I don't think I'll do either. I think I'll try to look for a different trading partner to get a better wide receiver if you're going to do that.
I mean, I would actually consider this trade, to be honest. I don't think Toney will have a role this season, personally. I don't think he's going to end up being a guy who ends up as an low-end wide receiver 2 rest of the season or something like that, or even a high-end wide receiver 3. I mean, Dameon Pierce has been fantastic, and he's obviously the workhorse back for me. I get it, he is. But it's still the Texans. They don't really have much going on. I mean, they play some tough defenses who are good against the run still. The Titans again, the Colts. I mean, Sutton and Pittman could still have a second half breakout. They could still. It's tough. I get it because Pittman and Sutton has been really disappointing. But, I mean, the matchups would look a little bit more favorable in the second half of both these guys. If they both end up as pretty mid-range wide receiver 2s, you got to be pretty happy with your situation. So I'm okay with the trade. I understand why you guys aren't, and I get why. But I'm still a faith that Sutton and Pittman can turn it around.
Yeah, I have way more faith in Sutton than I do Pittman. I think I say this, but I could be so off base. I think Russell Wilson does figure it out, and I do think that offense does click eventually. It's just, but I just don't. Pittman to me doesn't excite me. Rest of the season with Ellinger there, it just doesn't. I don't think you're going to get even usable weeks. It'd be impossible.
All right. So 2v1, no trade. So like, all right, let's get the QB bust now, John. What do you got for QB bust?
The QB bust is kind of an easy one. He had a decent outing, his last outing, but it's been rough all season, and that's Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford at Tampa Bay. This is a get right game for Tampa. You're going against the defense that allows 18.3 points on average to quarterbacks. So it's not like he's going to go in there and have a big game. Cooper Kupp's ankle is a little dinged up, so he's not 100%. You're not really going to beat him, with Allen Robinson. And I think it's going to be a lot of, low scoring. If it, Bucks, if anything, will from Germany. Damn. Okay. International, baby. I think it's just going to be all Bucks in this one, and they're going to beat them up start to finish, and you're not really going to be psyched about any of the pieces. So I'm sitting Matt Stafford.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really wanted to trust Matt Stafford all season. So
you're
still trying to start him. Please don't. Oh, God. Coach Jibs, what do we got for a QB bust?
Well, I'll go with someone who's pretty more appealing for this season, but Jared Goff, and he had a decent outing against the Dolphins last weekend. But buyer beware if you're starting this weekend, if you miss out on some of our sleeper quarterbacks and you just pick them off the waiver wire. But the Packers limited Josh Allen to 19.6 fantasy points last weekend, and Josh Allen had 40-something yards rushing too. So if you think about that, that's pretty much a 15-point performance for a normal quarterback's perspective. And that was the best performance they had against the Green Bay Packers. So that's Josh Allen. This is Jared Goff. I wouldn't be starting him this week, guys. I don't even think he's going to get close to 300 yards passing, and he's going to have a lot of attempts, whatnot. But like, I don't think it's going to be fulfilled.
Damn, just what do you got? My whole doc in your back pocket or something?
Nah, man.
Oh,
That's
man,
no second,
back-to-back
dog.
deals at this point. Oh God. All right. So my other option here, I'm gonna go with Tom Brady as a player I did not want to start this week. He had a decent week this past week. You know, he was a borderline QB1 in week 8, but the Rams are a pretty tough defense overall. They really haven't allowed many quarterbacks to see multi-touchdown games. It's only been 2, and one was last week. But Tom Brady just hasn't really looked like himself at all. And I really would rather steer off to a different direction if I can this coming week here. I mean, they've only allowed 8 passing touchdowns on the season. That's basically 1 touchdown a game. And, you know, Tom Brady hasn't really been throwing many touchdowns. It just really seems really off with his wide receivers. Wide receivers are dropping a lot of balls. I think this is going to be one of those games that people say, oh, it's the game of the week. We would probably thought that week 1. But now it's just a game where, like, it's just 2 teams who just don't have any burst playing a 10-13 game at the end of the day. So I'm going to go and sip Tom Brady this week for me personally. He's my bust. All right. So let's get over to the tight ends now, guys. What do we have for tight end, John? Who's your sleeper tight end?
My sleeper tight end is not really a sleeper. I feel kind of cheating on this one, but it is Gerald Everett. I think with all the injuries that are going on right now in that wide receiver room, Keenan Allen being iffy, Mike Williams out, they need someone to make plays. And Gerald Everett has stepped up in the red zone. He's, seeing 6-7 targets a game. So I think he is a absolutely usable piece and needs to be, because I think if we want Justin Herbert and we want, Austin Eckler and all these pieces to score well, he's going to have to throw it to somebody. And it's like I said, I liked Josh Palmer, but to your point, Steve, it can't all be Josh Palmer. He's not going to get 15 targets. So it's going to have to go somewhere else. And I think Gerald Everett just kind of falls right into that, intermediate route running role, which is great. And then come in the red zone, he has a little connection there. So, I look for him. Again, tight ends are one of those ones where you just try and predict touchdowns. And I think this could be a good touchdown week for Gerald Everett.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that. That's, part of the reason why I said before about Joshua Palmer maybe not having a great game. I think he could, but it's Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett has a fantastic connection so far with Justin Herbert so far. So sleeper tight end makes plenty of sense right now. So I like it. Coach Gibbs, what do we got?
I'm going with my aforementioned waiver wire pickup for the last week, Evan Ingram. And he's performed exceptionally well for like 4 straight weeks over this, I guess, a month or so. So next up on the slate of good matchups is the Raiders, and they allow the 3rd most points to tight end, 60 yards or a touchdown every week but last week, because Jawan Johnson didn't do crap and Taysom Hill had himself a decent day if you guys still use him. But I do like his prospects. He's been playing in the offense. He's been utilized in the offense. So I expect him to be in the game plan and be utilized. So fire up Evan Ingram, sleeper tight end of the week.
Oh, yeah. I almost want to put him as the top 3 tight end this week, honestly. I think he's in for a really strong week, and I love the matchup. So I love that pick there, Gibbs. My sleeper tight end is Logan Thomas, guys. He's been recovering from an injury that kind of kept him out for the first month and a half of the season here now. He finally saw his first game of action in weeks, and he should be in line for even more opportunity in week 9. The Vikings allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to tight ends now. They've allowed tight ends back-to-back touchdown games, and they've allowed at least 30 yards to a tight end each of the last 5 weeks. And I think this is a game where the Commanders are going to be behind in this game, and it's going to force them to pass the ball a little more often, frequently. And Tyler Heinicke did have somewhat of a connection last year with Logan Thomas. So I think with more snaps this week for Logan Thomas, he should be in line for a pretty solid outing, what gives him kind of a low-end tight end 1 week in fantasy. So he's my sleeper tight end. All right, so let's go to the tight end busts here. John, what do we got for tight end busts?
The tight end bust I have is Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki has been one of those, we always talk about touchdown dependent players at tight end and in the end zone. And when he scores, he gets double-digit points. He's great. When he doesn't score, He's single digits, low floor type of play. He's averaging 3.6 targets a game. The Vegas over-under on his yardage this week, because the Bears are a deceivingly tough matchup for tight ends. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns all season. His over-under prop line for yardage is 26.5 yards. So Vegas is predicting a super low game for Mike Gesicki, no touchdown and, 18, 20 yards. It's like, so completely useless. Don't even try and plug him in. Just leave him on your bench and wait for a much better matchup.
I'm going to say you're wrong, John. Mike Gesicki has a good game.
I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong.
Okay, Coach Jibbs, what do we got, brother?
I'm going with TJ Hawkinson, and there's multiple reasons why I don't like the situation. Obviously, he's going to a new team. He's going to have to learn the playbook, some of their offensive concepts. So even the great Christian McCaffrey wasn't used to his fullest degree when he got traded to the 49ers. So, and then obviously the matchup's terrible. Washington Commanders are the best against tight ends. They allow the fewest points to them, and only one tight end has scored double-digit half PPR points against the Commanders. So they've been a tough outing. So I don't like the matchup. I don't like the whole appeal of him. He's going to be good for the next upcoming 5 weeks or so, based off his matchup schedule. So don't be worried about this bad performance, but I'm not liking him this week.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't want to trust TJ Hawkinson in his first game with the Vikings yet, especially coming off a short week for him. Obviously, being traded over, it takes time to learn that position to the fullest of his opportunities as a tight end. There's no way I'm trusting that week 9. For my tight end bust, I went with his replacement and Brock Wright. Now he's been picked up, I feel like, in a lot of these redraft leagues I'm in for some reason, and people love new opportunities for tight ends. Everyone loves a new tight end that maybe has a chance to do good. But I'm telling you, it's not worth it. He's definitely not someone I'm considering starting at all this week. Personally, I mean, the Packers, they allow the fourth fewest points to tight ends this season. And while, Hawkinson made the tight end position look nice, Brock Wright is not going to do the same thing for him, honestly. And I expect this game to be really bad. I had Jared Goff as a bust this week, and there's a good reason for it. I don't expect him to be able to throw the ball to too many people, and I don't think Wright will be one of those people. So Brock Wright is someone I'm sitting this week.
And, on that note, James Mitchell is someone that I think athletically profiles more as that big play tight end that you're looking for. So if there is anyone who's going to emerge in the next couple weeks as this TJ Hawkinson replacement, to me, it's more James Mitchell. So that's who I'm grabbing and stashing in a lot of leagues. Just yes. FYI. So I love the call.
Yes, I like that call as well. All right. So let's get over to our RB sleepers now, John. Who do you guys an RB sleeper?
My first RB sleeper is Jamal Williams. So Jamal Williams is kind of, I can't believe we're still talking about it. And I still have to convince people to start him, but he's been on a touchdown tear this season. He's only behind Nick Chubb in scoring touchdowns. He's clearly the goal line back for this Detroit offense. DeAndre Swift was limited again. He's not 100% still. If Detroit's smart and they're playing the long game with him, they're not going to rush him back because Jamal Williams is handling the ball just fine. So he's put up 15 fantasy points in 4 of 7 games this year. I think this is another opportunity where he can be 15 plus points easy. So I'm firing up Jamal Williams everywhere I have him as a RB2 with huge upside.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I think he can end up finishing as an RB1 this week, honestly, because I really don't believe they're going to be pass the ball on this Packers team. So I like it. Coach Jibbs, first sleeper.
He was also one of my sleepers. I'm going to come up with another one. I'm going to go with Khalil Herbert. He's another running back who's in a supposed running back committee. Fortunately for Herbert, he's been the more efficient runner, because David Montgomery hasn't really done much with the amount of volume he's getting. But luckily for him, he's kind of cutting close with him. It's kind of looking like a 50-50 running back split. And the matchup isn't bad. I'm loving the way I'm loving the way he's running the ball. So I'm firing up Khalil Herbert, especially a week where we're losing all these running backs on the buys.
Mhm.
We have to think of a little bit more logical with our sleepers because of that reason. So Dibs, that was mine. That was my guy. So thank you for that too. You saw
Yes.
literally half my team today.
Yes.
But my other RB sleeper I'll start with is AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon has not been really great, and he actually hasn't got over 10 fantasy points since week 1 of the fantasy season. And he's got a good matchup finally. The Lions gave up the third most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. They've been destroyed by running backs in 5 of the 7 games that they played this year. And Packers are coming off a tough loss. They continue to lose. I think they've lost the whole month of October. They really need to get a win in this column here. And what to do? Get back to running the ball. Set up the play action, let Aaron Rodgers play off of play action, and just start winning games. So I think they're going to get back to running the ball very well. And I think this Lions team is going to fall apart, and it's going to allow AJ Dillon to see a lot more carries this coming week and end up performing as a pretty solid RB2 for you in fantasy. So he is my first sleeper. All right, John, back to you for a second RB sleeper. What do we got?
So I have 2 names that I wrote 2 names down here because I didn't like one of them. I didn't think it was sleeper enough. So I'm going to go with the other one. And that's Deion Jackson. I think Deion Jackson is, to me, we talked about him, the trade of Nyheim Hines opens up a path for him to have a pass catching role in this offense that Sam Ehlinger is just not a downfield bomb it kind of guy. It's going to be dink and dunk. They're going to run the ball through Jonathan Taylor if he's healthy. And that's what you're getting with Deion Jackson as well, is this baked-in upside that Jonathan Taylor might not go this week. And then Deion Jackson is a smash play because the week that he wasn't there, he was 20 points for fantasy. So I like Deion Jackson a lot. You can flex him. It's not the prettiest thing. It's not super sexy. It's not fun. But again, follow that Jonathan Taylor news closely, because if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play, then you can have Deion Jackson in your lineup and feel uber confident.
I like that there a lot because I think we're trending to the direction where Jonathan Taylor is really not going to play. And if he was going to play, he was someone you're not going to start because of his injury situation. But Deion Jackson, if he can see that raw, I think he'd end up being a pretty solid sleeper for that reason. So I like it. All right, Coach Jibs, what do you got for your second RB sleeper?
How low should I go?
How low do you want to go?
I mean, I just put out Deion Jackson, so you can go low.
I'll go somewhat in the middle. I'll take Antonio Gibson.
Good one.
The matchup isn't like the best compared to running backs, but I just like the role he has in the offense now. Like, he's not being that main first down runner anymore. He's kind of being utilized in like a half and half role. Like, he's been getting some receptions as of lately. I know Brian Robson isn't giving that. JD McKissick popped up on the injury report with a neck injury. So like, those things aren't something that could just be like whittled away in a couple of days, in my opinion. So I could think this is a good opportunity for Gibson to be more involved in the passing game. Playing the Vikings, I'm assuming the Vikings are going to probably smoke the Commanders. So like, maybe it'll be utilized there a little bit in the rushing game. And he's been the hot running back for the Commanders lately. So I like Gibson in the pinch as flex.
Yeah, no, ever since Brian Robinson's been there, it actually helped his value for being and actually pass catching back for this team that I think people have wanted for years. So, yeah, definitely a good sleeper this week. My second sleeper, I'm going to go with Tyler Algier. Algier is playing the Los Angeles Chargers, who give up the second most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. And Algier had himself a pretty solid outing. Now, Khalil Huntley could be an issue. Cordell Patterson could be back, but if Patterson's back, I think Tyler Algier is going to see the downs work at least, while Patterson sees more of the passing and third down work. I think Tyler Algier should end up having a pretty solid outing overall if you're looking for an RB to start, because there's so few in the league at this point. And honestly, they've allowed a 100-yard rusher in 3 of the last 4 weeks at this point. I mean, this Falcons team loves to run the football, even when they're behind by lots of points. So I'm just gonna stick to what they like to do, and I'm gonna hope that Tyler Algier can end up having a nice outing for us this week. So he is my sleeper at the RB position. Now we head over to the one bust we got now. John, who do you have as your bust of the week?
I'm gonna do. This is kind of a combo. This is Michael Carter and James Robinson. I'm sitting both Jets running backs. I think it's a terrible matchup. I don't like it against Buffalo Bills. I think that timeshare, the little bit of work that Michael Carter got was because James Robinson wasn't 100% up to speed. Now you're going to look at a much closer 50-50 split. You don't really want either one in what should be a slaughtering. I think the Bills handle the Jets pretty well this week, and if anything, the Jets are going to be down, need to throw the ball. They're not going to try and chunk yards out of James Robinson and Michael Carter. Like that's not the game script I see. So I just would stay away from either running back. I don't know how confident people were starting either one this week, but definitely look somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I liked it. That's a good one to pick. I would not want to start either one of them too. I don't like the matchup. I don't like the situation right now. I think half their offensive line is hurt right now. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Coach Gibbs, what do we got?
I'm gonna take the easy lane out.
What's the easy lane?
It's a CEH, man. I didn't want to be controversial. I'm not really big on Dylan this week, though, guys. I'll tell you that much. But
Ooh, we have another battle.
No, I don't want to battle. Actually, I'll battle. Let's fire up AJ Dillon.
All right,
So,
talk about AJ Dillon. Why don't you like him?
So yes, the matchup is good, so to say. Like you give up everything you said, but like you look at the offense, like Aaron Jones has been like the guy over this last couple of weeks when the Packers have been trying to win games and whatsoever. And Dylan, like, yeah, sure, like you think he'll get his double-digit carries, but he's gonna max at a 10. Like that's the most amount of rushing attempts that he's gotten like over the last 4 weeks. So like Coach Steve, yeah, he could get 60 yards, but is that touchdown coming? You're still banking on that touchdown no matter what. And I've just seen the Aaron Jones show lately, so I'm not on him.
Okay.
He won't be in any of my lineups.
Well, one of us has to finally win one of these battle matchups that we've had. John's won both of them so far, so maybe one of us can finally get a win.
Watch will tie.
Yeah.
He finishes exactly at.
It'd be like
I don't know how he finishes the tie. I mean, I guess at the end of the day how good someone does. So I'm guessing. You know,
We have to bring some independent arbitrator.
Oh God, I love it. All right, so for my RB bust, I just had it. I forgot. I'm going with Devin Singletary. They versus the New York Jets. While the Bills defense is good, so is the Jets defense. Jets defense is really good. And if Nyheim Hines actually comes in and actually steals his passing work, which it sounds like he's playing Sunday, the only way that the Jets let up points this past week is they let Ramondre Stevenson catch 8 balls this past week and do work with that. If Nyheim Hines gets that role, that means Devin Singletary seeing that first, second down roll and not seeing that passing down roll. So, and we've seen them kind of contain running backs most of the season here. So, for me, I think Devin Singletary ends up having another very mediocre day, and it's on the back of Josh Allen, not the run game. So, for me, Devin Singletary is my bust for this week. All right, so let's get over to the wide receiver sleepers. John, what do you got?
My first wide receiver sleeper, I think, is going to be controversial, so I'm going to use it. It's Juju Smith-Schuster. Back-to-back 100-yard games, so he's in that category of starting to heat up. Like he's really getting that chemistry going with Mahomes and that offense, and things are starting to click. And the Titans have allowed 39 points to wide receivers on average this season. So you're gonna beat the Titans. It's through the air, and I have a feeling that Patrick Mahomes is gonna have a field day. So, the only thing that scares me is we get Malik Willis in there, and then the game is completely out of hand from Jump Street, and Kansas City doesn't need to score points. But if Derrick Henry gets some run and gets a couple touchdowns, and they have to just throw on him and make a point, I have a feeling Juju could be in for a good game.
Yeah, no, I think Juju. I still like Juju a lot this week. I know Gibbs isn't not a big fan. I get why, but I think he's turning into that top target or second target for this team actually. So
right.
I still like it enough. The matchup's good. So, Gibbs, who'd you have as your wide receiver sleeper?
I'll take Josh Palmer. Like Atlanta gives up the second most points to wide receivers. They allowed in the last 3 games 2 wide receivers from the same team that have at least 75 receiving yards or more.
Yeah.
So like
it's not good.
It's not good. So like even like DeAndre Carter in like a deeper league format, if you want to go that route, I think he could have some appeal as well. But this matchup's great. I know Justin Herbert may have some concerns just because like the lack of weapons and all that stuff. But like this is what he has available to him, and I'm rolling with it.
Oh, man, that is 5 people you stolen from me this week.
All right, well, still my guy.
Nah, you don't have him. It's Darnell Mooney, guys.
Oh no, I just dropped him.
It's Darnell Mooney. Yeah, I mean, I understand that people with Chase Claypool are concerned, but he's not going to play a full week of snaps in a shortened week like this. He's going to get a handful of snaps, but it's going to be Darnell Mooney's show for at least one more week. He's at least 50 yards in 5 straight games. Miami does give up air yards. Darnell Mooney racks up the air yards pretty well, and I think this is the week he finally scores. He hasn't scored yet this season. I think this is the week he does. We saw that Miami can let wide receivers just run all over them, and Detroit did that very early and often here. And I think they give up the 8th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. They've allowed at least 4 wide receivers over the last 3 weeks to get over 60 yards. And I expect this to be a game where the Bears are behind in this game. It's going to force Justin Fields to throw a little bit more than usual. And I think Mooney just gets enough targets and make him closer to a 100-yard performance in week 9. So for me, he's my sleeper at wide receiver.
I love it. I like the play. I mean, you know, I touted Justin Fields, so he's going to need to throw to somebody. It's probably going to be Mooney.
That is true, yes. So let's go to our sleeper number 2. I'm in class now, so I'm trying to do both at the same time. John, what's your second wide receiver sleeper?
Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is my next one. The Vikings allowed 3rd most fantasy points to outside wide receivers. You know, Jibs talked about Tyler Heineke, you know, distributing the ball a lot better. And they've given up 30. He's gotten 34.9 points over the past 2 games combined. So he's starting to get himself a safe little floor, as well as have, you know, 15, 16 point upside. So I like Terry McLaurin a lot this week. He's one of those guys who's just uber talented, just was in a crappy situation, but things are starting to turn around.
All right. I like it. I like it a lot. Coach Jibs.
Real quick, it's Devin Duvernay, and this was before the Bateman news. So, like, if he's not on your roster, go get him. Especially with Mark Andrews hampered up, I just think he could be a great wide receiver to be utilized as I guess I'll say in the low end wide receiver 2 range.
Mm-hmm.
Good flex. Saints give the 10th most points to wide receivers. I'm expecting points to be scored in this game. Duvernay's giving you some rushing stuff on the ground. He's going to get you his 4 or 5 catches. Maybe they'll scheme him up a little bit better just because of the recent news. But I'm happy with Bateman. I mean, Duvernay. Sorry, Bateman on the brain.
Yeah, it's okay. Duvernay could end up having a good week here. I know people were super excited about it. I'm not as thrilled, but season long. But this is a matchup where he could end up doing very well for fantasy. So, oh man, this is tough now because I don't have a second option here at wide receiver. I'm gonna go Hunter Renfrow this coming week here versus the Jaguars. Hunter Renfrow has played solid last week. He didn't do terribly, and now that Devontae Adams is ready to go, I think that the coverage is going to get put it towards him, even though he'll have a good game too. But I expect him to kind of bounce back. He actually had a bad game last week. I'm sorry. The week before he had the good game. He had a decent game. So I expect him to kind of bounce back against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Like I said, this game feels like a potential shootout where it's like 35-32 at the end of the day. And I think Hunter Renfrow gets his this weekend. Finally finds a touchdown after since week 1. So for me, I'm going to go Hunter Renfrow as my wide receiver sleeper number 2. All right. And then finally, give us a wide receiver bust for the week.
I'm going to do the same sort of play like I did with the Jets running backs and say sit the Colts wide receivers. The New England defenses, I mean, they're not as scary as they were early in the season, but they've still only given up 4 touchdowns to wide receivers all year. So, you're looking at low floor, kind of plays with both Paris Campbell, who saw 2 targets last week, and Pittman, who saw, 8, which is great. But, if you get 60 yards and no score, how helpful is that really? So, in my opinion, you can sit both guys. Low floor, low ceiling plays this week. If you get stuck and you have to start Pittman, you have to start one. Obviously, I'm starting Pittman out of the 2, but I just wouldn't expect a double-digit performance out of either player.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm fading if I can this week if I have the other players to start. So I like it. Coach Jibs?
I'm fading Garrett Wilson this week, and he did have a exceptional week last week. I think he had 115 receiving yards or so. And the Buffalo Bills are the Bills. Like, I know they have a great defense. Like, even though they're kind of hampered up and they have allowed wide receiver production over the last weeks, I still think with him being the vocal point of the offense, it'll be easier for them to contain him. So I'm not really liking his prospects this week.
All right. I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. And I think the Latavius White is coming. Oh, it's not Latavius White.
Tre'Davious.
Tre'Davious White. Yes, thank you. Tre'Davious White, I think, is coming back finally. So that's going to just boost that secondary even more. So my guy, even though he is my guy, is Gabriel Davis is my bust this week. And even though I'm starting him in a bunch of places, but I think this is another bad week. And it's not him. He's a really good wide receiver. It's just that he's not seeing 8 or 9 targets a game like Diggs is. He's seeing 4 to 5. And what the Jets do best on defense is they don't allow people to beat them deep. They've been really good at getting, if you look at who they play and who ends up producing, it's everyone who can do things underneath. The slot wide receiver, the tight ends underneath, the RBs out of the backfield. It's not the deep ball. And I think a lot of Isaiah McKenzie, a lot of Stephon Diggs, and a lot of Dawson Knox, unfortunately, will end up having a much better outing than Gabriel Davis. I think if Davis doesn't get a touchdown in this game, it's just it's bust. So for me, he's a boomer bust wide receiver. And for me, I think it's just another bad week. He maybe gets 3 for 40, 3 for 60, but you don't really want that in fantasy. You want the 22-point game he can offer you, but it's not going to be this week. The Jets secondary is legit. Sauce Gardner is killing it. So for me, Gabriel Davis is my wide receiver bust of the week, guys. All right.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're all done here, guys, tonight. Finished pretty good here overall. Coach John, anything you want to say before we get going?
I got nothing. Go Birds. Go Birds for Jibs. I'm riding this Eagles train heavy this year, so I'm super excited to watch tonight's game.
Love it. Love it. Coach Jibs?
Go Phillies.
Go Phillies. All right. Go all Philadelphia sports.
Just Philly. Just Philadelphia as a city. Let's go.
They're killing. I wish I could go there tonight. It'd be fun. But yeah, guys, thank you all for listening. Thank you for subbing from us all the way in Germany. We do appreciate that. Please tune in every Monday and Thursday, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, guys, please go check out our website, www.thefantasycoaches.com. We got articles, we got rankings, we got these podcasts are up there. My playbook's up there. It's pretty cool. Nice statistical database that's up there. Of course, check us out on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. All of our updates, anything that we shout out, I throw out information out there, usually every Tuesdays and Wednesdays. A lot of cool, fun information. And of course, sub to us on YouTube. Go to anywhere where you listen to your podcast. Leave us a review. Help us out. Just always appreciate your guys' feedback from us. And if you have any questions, always reach out to one of 3 of us. We'll help you answer at any time. So thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back on Monday to do some waiver wires. Enjoy your week 9 and have a good one.
Go get them.